Broadcasting from Cincinnati, you're listening to the Ringside Reporter podcast. All the news from the world of boxing right here.
Well, I'm talking to you the way I want to talk to you.
Now, here's your host, Eric Lorda.
And we are live. Welcome to the Ringside Reporter show, where we talk about the latest boxing news. If it's related to boxing, we'll talk about it here. My name is Eric Lorta, and I'm here with my co-host, Joe Habib. And we have a special guest here, Mike Montero from Montero on Boxing. If you guys want to call and ask questions, 323-870-3857. I should say undefeated professional boxer, Michael Montero here.
Technically,
son.
Yeah, if I retire right now, I'll be the best ever. So, that's the new standard in boxing, right?
TBE, he
That's
retires
right, man.
now.
Me and Sven and Floyd.
Floyd and Sven Octi.
Yeah. Same level of opposition, probably.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's right. Oh, man. All right, let's get started here. ESPN Plus, the big one, Joyce versus Big Bang Zhang. Big Bang Zhang wins by a third-round KO over Joyce. It was a right hand that did the damage. It was a two-punch combo, and Joyce did not see that hook coming. I'm convinced he didn't see that hook coming because he just dropped like a rock, man. As soon as he got hit, you knew it was over with. Everything that Zhang hit him with, it started in the second round. In that first round, they were just kind of pawing at each other. The second round, Zhang, he seemed to pick it up a little bit. He hit him, and he looked like he hurt him. Zhang was hurting him, looked like very easily in this fight, man. And then, of course, in the third round, it was more of the same, and then Zhang caught him with that shot, and that was all she wrote. One thing we were talking about, man, Joyce looked a lot heavier, and it looked like he was about 25, 30 pounds heavier, almost 30 pounds than his last fight. I don't know. I don't know what happened. I don't know, I don't know where he went wrong or why he decided to balloon up to 270 something or 280 or whatever it was. 282.
Yeah.
What in his thought process thought that was a good idea? And I heard the announcers kicking around, well, this might have been an injury or something like that. But I've said it a million times, man, just because you're injured doesn't mean you have to gain weight. You can diet through injury and still maintain a weight. You don't have to gain, because you can't exercise. But I think after the fight, Zhang, of course, called out Tyson Fury, him and everybody else in the division. Joyce, though, after the fight, said he has plenty left in the tank and will fight again. Look, son, it's over. You're not coming back from 2 knockout losses from Zhang. Let me tell you what, and Zhang, to me, anyway, is middle of the road at best.
Whoa.
He's not a top-tier heavyweight. He's not. Let me tell you something. He's no Jared Big Baby Anderson. Let me tell you about that. Let me tell you that.
He's not from Ohio. We get it. Well,
right. I mean, that goes without saying.
Right.
So, Mike, let me ask you, what were your thoughts on this fight, and what are your thoughts on Joyce really moving forward here?
Well, starting with Zhang, it was 2 things that really impressed me. One was his patience. He really showed a lot of patience, and having recently just had a fight myself, I can tell you it requires a lot of discipline to have patience like that and really lay off and let your opponent do what they're going to do and take those notes. When your adrenaline's going and you're in there, you see a shot, you see an opening, you want to throw a punch, and it's like sometimes you should wait a few times and let your opponent get comfortable. And that's what he did. So the patience really impressed me. And then also the craft. He set that right hook up. That requires thinking. That requires craft. And we talked about this on the roundtable. Ring IQ brought it up, Beeb. He talked about adding something on top of that straight left. And you could see Joyce was looking for it. He had that rear hand right here, right? And he was looking for that straight left. But he wasn't looking for the hook at all. Anytime Zhang saw about halfway through the second, he's like, holy shit. It was just he threw out a combination and it landed. He's like, oh, I got something here. And then Joyce was doing like this half forearm cross guard. And then he was kind of doing a half shoulder roll with that hook. The thing with a shoulder roll, if you're going to do it, you got to go all in 100%. You got to give a very, very narrow guard, and your like cheek needs to be behind your shoulder. That's how high up your shoulder has to be. You can't 50% it. And he was 50%ing it. Also, a shoulder guard only really works when you're taller. If you're a couple inches taller, these guys are the same height. If you try to do a shoulder roll on the inside with a southpaw throwing a right hook at you, it's going to land here every single time. It is. And that's what happened. And then Zhang set it up with the straight left to the body, which again shows craft because he changed levels then. And you could see he like shifted to throw the right hook. So he kind of, even though he was throwing that left hand to the body, instead of dipping this way, he dipped this way while he shot it so he could get the hook off. You could see him thinking about it. I think Zhang might be the third best heavyweight in the world right now.
Behind, what's his name from Cincinnati? Jared Anderson?
I can't give it to him yet. Look, potential-wise, Big Baby's through the roof. Okay, I'm a big believer. I'm a big believer. But right now, it's all about trajectory, Cincinnati. I wonder, where's Eric from? Where's he from? Seattle? No. It's all about trajectory and momentum. And right now, Zhang is peaking. He's got 2 big knockouts over a guy that couldn't be hurt, let alone knocked down or knocked out. No one could hurt Joyce.
Yeah.
And Zhang's plowed through him twice, and this time in 3 rounds, man. So I mean, it's Usyk. I don't count Fury because he's not fighting this year, so I don't count him. Wilder hasn't fought this year.
That's blasphemous.
I know. When he comes back, he's the guy. But right now, he's basically.
You're not the only one. You're not the only one that said that. People are getting upset with the inactivity. I mean, it's understandable.
His fight this year doesn't count in boxing, as far as I'm concerned. So he ain't got a fight in 2023. Neither does Wilder. Neither does Andy Ruiz. Neither does Luis Ortiz.
Where are these guys at? Where are these guys at, man?
Mike, does Frank Sanchez have one on the schedule? Do you have one on their books right now?
I want to say they talked about matching him up with somebody, but I can't remember.
He hasn't fought. He hasn't fought yet, though. He hasn't had one in the record books.
And Usyk once. I mean, AJ and Zhang are the only 2 guys that have fought twice. They're the only guys I can think of that fought twice this year. The only top heavyweights.
That's
so.
True.
As far as Joyce goes, with the weight gain, here's what I want to know. Did they strategically do it to take punches? I don't know. Or is he kind of mentally a little checked out?
Mike, well, they were talking about, didn't they say something about an injury? Some of the announcers had said something about that. They were wondering if it was injury related or what, but nobody's officially came out and said that.
What they said was they believed he was too light for the first fight. So now he was saying during this camp, we're going to try something different, right? We're going to make some adjustments. He was hinting that he wanted to be bigger, thinking he would be more durable, thinking he would be stronger. Okay. And
he wore it well. He still looked good. It's not like he looked fat, you know.
I thought he looked much heavier than his last fight.
He looked heavier.
I mean, he looked puffier. You see his face, he looked puffier.
Yeah, that adamantium bone density skeleton of his was like seven times the amount than it instead of 6 times the amount.
He had some bloating going on.
But the problem with Zhang is he had that Uru hammer like Thor in his fist. And Uru is stronger than adamantium. So anyways, I think that they made a concerted effort to come in bigger. And a lot of times when you focus on trying to come in bigger, you make an overcorrection. This was an overcorrection from my viewpoint. And one thing that I heard from Zhang's camp this morning, I was listening to an interview from his manager, and allegedly they were spying on Joyce's camp. And they said that all he was working on was moving away from the left hand.
Yeah.
Right. And they were 100% focused on that left hand, and they weren't thinking about anything else. And because of that, Zhang's team come up with that strategy of we're going to show him something with the right hook. And as you said, Mike, when he gave that straight left to the body, it's almost like he pushed him into the direction of the hook.
Mm-hmm.
He guided him into there, because the punch, when he threw that punch, he actually turned and tried to like push him and position him where he could get that right hook off and get.
Yeah, it was to the chest, right? It wasn't to the stomach.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was basically a throwaway punch.
Yeah.
It was a throwaway punch in an attempt to get to direct him and position him where he wanted to land the right hook, essentially. And I say this a lot, when I talk about exceptional fighters, very, very high level fighters, they do the subtle things when it comes to movement. And Joyce has the subtleties in his footwork. It's very easy to move too much, right? And gauge your distance improperly and gauge your range improperly because you're moving too much. And the exceptional fighters, they know how to move just enough where they're putting themselves out of danger, but staying in range where they can fire. And I think Zhang has got that nailed down to a T. He knows how to position himself just right where he can get those shots off, create those punching angles for himself, and at the same time being able to evade what's coming back at him. So Zhang's got exceptional hand speed, and like I said, he's got really, really tricky footwork. You know, he's really tricky, and he knows how to, as you said, he knows how to open up those shots. He knows how to create those openings, just like we talked about with that left hand to the chest, which really isn't a punch of consequence. It's there to position him where he wants to position him, get that reaction, right? Get him to move in that direction.
It's a setup punch.
Yeah, just
you can go up top after that with straight left hand. You have options.
Yeah,
It's funny.
Do you guys really think he's that good, Zhang? I don't think he's that fast.
In this era?
My guess is if he gets into a hard fight, 280 pounds, he's going to have trouble going the distance. He's going to have trouble in a hard fight, and he's going to have trouble against guys that make him work. Anybody who makes him work, makes him move at a high pace, I think wears that guy out.
I used to think that too, but he's found a way to pace himself, right? And he's found a way. He's got a strength and conditioning coach, right? He's found a way to pace himself.
He could have went 12 in this fight, the way he was fighting.
And Mike,
slow. It wasn't a fast-paced fight. I mean, take a look at that first round. Take a look at that first round. You know, that was about as slow pace as you can possibly get.
Yeah, but that's how much of that is because of Zhang.
Could be. But neither one of them, I don't think, are really fast-paced fighters.
But Mike,
put him in there against Usyk. Usyk's going to make you work. Joshua would make you work.
Fight.
Yeah,
but Mike hit the nail on the head. This guy's more relaxed. You know, he's kind of come into himself. He's relaxed. He's not expending a lot, blowing a lot of adrenaline because he's relaxed, and he's fighting at a controlled pace. It's just like Canelo. Canelo's kind of settled down as well. Like, he used to get tired early in his career, but he's learned. I'm gonna pace myself. I'm gonna set these shots up. I'm going to go for quality over quantity. Obviously I want to set the shots up properly. I want to work behind jab and whatever, but I'm not just going to go in there and just try to empty out the clip, right? When you get older, you get more experience, become more comfortable in there. You know where you are in the ring. You're not going to throw shots when you shouldn't be throwing them. And Zhang's not wasting punches.
It comes with confidence too.
Yeah. He's not wasting
that confidence comes the discipline that you feel like, okay, I don't have to go for broke right now. I can wait. I can set it up. Yeah. And you just, man, the Hrgovic fight and these two Joyce fights, he has grown by leaps and bounds. He has learned so much. The Hrgovic fight, I think, really showed us something, and he learned from that fight. Yeah. And now I think I'm not saying I would pick him to beat Usyk. I think Usyk would be a really tough style for him. Really, really tough style. Fury is Fury. That would be tough for him. But anybody else in this division, man, I'm telling you, he's got a real shot. I'm including Joshua and Wilder in that for sure.
Who do you think he goes with next now? I mean, he's beaten this guy.
Isn't he a mandatory for Usyk?
He hasn't been ordered yet.
It hasn't been ordered.
Oh, it's the WBA, right? Yeah. Who knows what they'll do?
I mean, but like you said, where does he go from here? Say he can't get a title shot next. Fury's, like you said, Fury's got Ngannou locked up. He's not fighting this year. Where does he go from here? I mean, who does he fight to keep this iron sharp here?
If I were him, if there's nothing available, I'd get right back in the ring and kind of just do a stay busy fight. Why not? Yeah. Get in there and do a showcase, stay busy fight. I don't know what the situation in China would be like with his promotion and if they could go over there and fight, but there's 1.5 billion people there. If 10% of the country watches, that's like massive. That's like when Zhou Shiming fought It would be over
Yeah.
100 million people would, like, as much people as watch the Super Bowl here in America would watch his 4-rounders. So if they can work something out where he could go over to China, and again, I don't know legally what the situation would be with that, with his promotion, but I know he'd like to do that. I've talked to Zhang for years, and he's a very confident guy, but a lot of people counted him out. And now he's kind of got like a nastiness in him where he's kind of saying like, ha ha, I told you guys. And he wants to, like, he's kind of got a nasty streak in him and he wants to show it. So I think if he could get in there again by the end of the year, and it's going to be a B-level opponent, but get in there and flatten a dude in 2 rounds or something and continue to build that brand. You build that brand and you build up the money potential, the big fights will happen.
So if he fights Fury, we all favor Fury in that. Does he have a shot? Give him Fury style.
He's definitely got a shot.
You think he's got a shot? Okay.
Fury doesn't like southpaws. Zhang can punch even with him in terms of height. They say that Fury is 6'9". He's about 6'7". He's not 6'9". I favor Fury, obviously, but what's left in his tank? He's not fighting.
Yeah.
Last year it was who? It was Dillian White and Chisora, right? So, okay, that's who he fought last year. And then this year he's fighting a novice. He's fighting a guy I could beat. So if I could beat your opponent, yeah, that's not good. So by next year, how much does he have left? That's what I want to know.
Well, that's true. I mean, like you said, he's making this Netflix documentary or whatever. He's doing this Netflix thing or whatever. He's got that going on in his personal life. He's got Francis Ngannou coming up. But again, there hasn't been a lot of like iron coming his way.
Exactly.
There's, Francis Ngannou, I mean, that fight, that's a wash. That's not going to be a challenge. He's probably not even going to train for that.
Now, did you see his belly?
Yeah, did you see that at the press conference?
I don't think he is.
Yeah, no.
And that's the thing, dude. If you're living that way in between these fights, eventually that's going to catch up. You're going to get in there with the guy who's peaking at just the right time.
Yeah.
And you zig when you should zag, and boom. Yeah. So who knows? Who's to say? It might be Zhang is the guy that can do that to him.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not really sold on Zhang. I'm just not. I don't know what it is about him. He's just, to me, he's a big plotting, almost like an old-fashioned type of heavyweight. When you think of like the heavyweights and the plotting heavyweights and everything like that, that's kind of what I get when I see him. Yeah, at least with my eyes. Anyway.
He looks like a classic super heavyweight. When you think super heavyweight in the past, you think of that plotting kind of guy, right?
Yes.
He doesn't look like the 21st century super heavyweight. That
doesn't look like Anthony Joshua or
Lennox Lewis,
Klitschko's,
Wilder. He doesn't look like that kind of a guy. But so far he's been effective and he's getting better. I'm not saying he's an elite level heavyweight or a Hall of Famer. I'm not going there. I'm just saying I want to see him against the top guys, especially now because the other guys aren't fighting. They're so inactive.
What is going on with that? All right, so let's talk about this heavyweight division for a minute. I mean, Wilder, where's he been? Andy Ruiz, where's he been? Are they going to fight again? Like I don't know. Like, I mean, we talk about the heavyweights. We always talk about Wilder. We always talk about Joshua. We always talk about, but nobody's really fighting anybody here. I mean, they're not. Like, Wilder's not fighting. Andy Ruiz is another one. I don't think, my guess is he's probably not even in shape to fight right now.
Yeah.
The problem is those guys have been overpaid. I'm sorry to put it that way, but when you overpay fighters, this is what happens. Because Wilder and Ruiz, PBC has wanted to match them up for years. They've had that on the back burner, okay? And so they knew they had that fight, and it would sell. It would absolutely sell, but not enough to get them what they want money-wise. And so the demand just isn't there to pay them what they want. So that's why that fight hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. I mean, it's, and they're not, I mean, you think about what they want to get paid for who they're fighting, and they're going to want like crazy monster paydays for fighting somebody in the top 10. And it's like, it's not going to happen. You don't command that much, especially when you're out of the public eye.
Right.
Deontay Wilder's not exactly a household name. Tyson Fury
outside of boxing.
Outside of boxing, nobody knows who that guy is.
Nobody knows who Wilder is.
He could walk down the street, nobody would know who he is.
And see, that's where Anthony Joshua does deserve credit. He gets in there twice a year. He's a brand over there in the UK. He fights. He's kind of weird, and he's got some issues and some head case stuff going on,
Right.
and all that. But he gets in there and fights, man. He got his two fights. It sucks that 2 fights is like the standard now, but
Yes.
for superstar level fighters, it is. And he gets in there and does his 2 fights. So,
what about Joe Joyce? Beneficial for him to move on, or is it done? He's in his 30s now. You think about it. I mean,
there's still money to make for him. He can make some money.
I guess with England fight, yeah, I guess you're right.
Dude, him and Anthony Joshua.
Yeah,
Come
that could
on.
be huge.
That, if
Any
Frank
fight in
Warren and Eddie
England is
Hearn
that
could get
big,
along,
yeah.
that's a big fight.
Rematch with Dubois.
There's that. That's a big fight over there too. That's a domestic level fight that sells. You think of what Wilder Ruiz is here. That's what that fight is over there. So
yeah.
Frank Warren was so happy saying, "Oh, we got Zhang now, so we still got Zhang under contract, so don't worry about it."
Well, didn't he say? Did you hear Frank Warren after the fight said that about Joe Joyce, that he said he should probably think about retirement because it's going to be very hard for him to come back.
He said it's like they asked him, should Joe Joyce retire, and he goes, well, he should he could consider it.
Wow.
Never hear
That's
somebody
not what
say
you
that,
want to
man.
hear from your promoter, man.
No,
I mean,
no.
He goes, well, he's 38 years old. I'm sure he's gonna, he could consider it.
38, man. I didn't realize he was that old. 38.
Yeah.
That's ancient when you're at the top level in this sport. It just is.
People in the chat keep saying that Zhang's a mandatory. This guy's a man. Listen, you're not a mandatory unless the sanctioning body orders the fight. You could be ranked number 1. You could be ranked number 5. If the fight's not ordered, you are not the mandatory. They have to order the mandatory.
And even if you're a mandatory, it really doesn't mean much anymore. I mean, they can buy you out in a second.
The WBA, man.
They can make you fight eliminators till the cows come.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah, we've seen that.
Yep.
We've seen that.
So,
How many guys have been sitting there waiting? Look
2
at
or 3 eliminators. Like,
where's Boots Ennis at? I mean, what about Boots Ennis? I mean, he's got to be ranked up there. He still doesn't have a title shot. You know what I mean? And he's ready.
And he's had 2 fights this year, I think, right? But real sneaky, kind of under the radar.
Yeah.
He's been so mismanaged, man. That dude should be a star already.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
He should be selling out venues in Philly. Like Philly loves their boxing, and no one there knows who the hell he is. That's crazy to me. That's just crazy.
How crazy is that? I mean, really, that guy is a contender. He's the next guy on deck. I don't know if he beats Terrence Crawford, but I know he gives either one of those guys a fight. Either him or Spence, I know he gives him a fight. Now, whether he wins or not, who knows? But that guy is good enough to at least be in there with him and make you think twice about, hey, man, can he beat him? I don't know. There's some doubt there. He's a live dog in either one of those fights.
I agree.
And still has not gotten his shot, All right, that was it for ESPN and Joe Joyce. On DAZN, Richardson Hitchens versus Jose Zepeda. Beeb, we pay $20 a month, $25 a month for DAZN. Was this bout worth the $25 that the public spent on this?
To be honest, on paper, this card looked like it was going to be a good card.
Didn't look
But
bad.
The Hitchens and Zepeda fight, Richards really did not live up to the expectations. No disrespect to Hitchens. He won virtually every round. He pitched a shutout, but it just was not a crowd-pleasing performance. He was pecking and prodding and poking away. And again, I'm not in there, right? I'm not taking the shots. I know Zepeda can crack, but it just looked like you were able to touch this guy whenever you wanted, and you just didn't really put 2 and 3s together. So he was looked like he played a safety first type fight, right? Looked like he did just enough to win the rounds, and it was basically had the mentality, win this fight and look good another day. I guess that's just the way I summed it up from my vantage point. And Zepeda could be on the other end of it right now. He could be turning the corner, and this is another setback for him. And he could, hate to say this, I don't like to say disparaging things about fighters, but he may be looking like a gatekeeper at this point, right? Wow. He can be that guy that the prospects use as a barometer to gauge whether or not we go to the next level, right?
harsh.
So Hitchens was he was slaughtered on social media. Not too many people had any nice things to say about his performance. I know Regis Prograis was slating him. All the fans were slating him, and I'm not so sure that he's going to get those big fights. I mean, win, lose, or draw, if you're in there with him, you're not going to look good either way. Whether you win or whether you lose, it very well could end up being a stinker, and it's probably not going to be a huge money fight at this stage, right? So at 140, who's going to want to fight this guy? He's going to have to put himself into a mandatory, or get himself into a mandatory position, I should say. And that's his route to a title. I don't think anyone's going to give him a voluntary defense.
No way.
I don't see it.
Yeah. He so I have a good friend who's in Zepeda's team, and he let me know last week. I talked to him, like, how's Chon looking? And he said that Chon's looking pretty bad. He had a bad camp. His sparring, he looked very flat. They were concerned. He switched a few different guys, and he just hasn't looked very good. And they were really, really concerned about him in this fight. And so I figured he'd be flat, and I figured Hitchens would win. But for Hitchens to never step on the gas and go for it with a guy that's mentally, I don't want to say too much, but kind of checking out of the sport. He had a guy right there, prime opportunity for him to really, really shine. And what's crazy is, like, in this sport, in boxing, you can win a fight by shutout, which he did in the first big step up of his career, and still get slaughtered by the fans. And then you can lose in a fight where maybe you fight really exciting and you show real bravery and moxie, and your brand goes up with the fans. So it's not always necessarily about winning and losing. So many of these guys obsess over the O, but look at someone like Demetrius Andrade and where he's at this point in his career. And I don't want to make a comparison between Hitchens and Andrade. They don't fight similarly, but the entertainment value just isn't there. And Hitchens doesn't bring a big fan contingency with him or anything like that. I think he fought for Haiti in the Olympics, right? Is he Haitian descent? Am I thinking of the right? Let me check.
I'd have to double check that, but I'm not sure.
I know he's a Floyd guy, right?
Yeah, he's formerly with Mayweather Promotions. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a little bit of Floyd in the way he fought. Except Floyd at times he would get dudes out of there. Man, I'm trying to find him in BoxRec.
Haiti.
Was it Haiti? Yeah. Okay. Yep. So I'm just saying, and I say that because I thought he was Haitian, but there's just not a large fan contingent. It's kind of like Hergovich, and he, where he's from. Yeah. He's not bringing a big fan contingent from his home country. So Hitchens just doesn't have that. And then, man, you got to have some entertainment value, and he doesn't have that. So 140 is pretty loaded. You have guys in that division that are entertaining. They're fun to watch. He's going to be the odd man looking out, man.
Yeah. And, if you got to think that if he does fight one of the bigger guys, it's like he's going to have to take a pay cut. You know what I mean? He's going to have to take one of those lower B level. You know what I mean? It's not like he's the A side in any of that.
Yeah. That's a great
nobody's
point.
going to really want to watch him fight, especially with all the risk and no reward. So,
yeah, I could see him getting into a mandatory spot, and depending on who the champion is, they just might dump their belt, because they just might say, "What? It's not worth it to fight this freaking guy. I'll just move up and wait." Right. And that's the thing. There's so many belts right now. Fighters can do that now. Like, you go back to the 80s, the 70s, even the 90s, you couldn't do that as much. But now, like, the WBA has 3 belts in the same division. So when you have all those belts, guys can just walk away from situations like that. So with Hitchens, man, he's going to have to figure something out. But I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't watch the whole fight. I saw a few rounds and was like, I know it. This is going all 12, and Hitchens is going to win by shutout. Yeah. Click. Turn something else on.
I fell asleep twice during the fight.
There you go. And he was dominant. He was dominant, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Every round was the same. Mm-hmm. And again, when you're having your way that easily with somebody, and the guy really can't hit you with a handful of salt in the ass, then I don't know, man. It's easy for me to say this, but it just looked like he was playing, like he was just playing with him.
He's playing with his food.
Yeah, he was just playing with them, and you know, I got the sense that he could have done a little more. Maybe it's not fair to. Maybe it's not fair.
He had a guy in there that was ready to be had. I'm telling you, do not be surprised if in Zepeda's next fight, depending on who he gets matched up with, if he's not brutally knocked out. Trust me on this.
Wow.
I mean, there was no resistance from Zepeda. There was no fire from Zepeda. There was no resistance from Zepeda. Yeah. That's the time where you just say, "Hey, man, let me try to put some stuff together here."
What was his corner saying through all this? Were they saying, hey, you know, just watch out, he's dangerous, just kind of keep your distance, just keep doing what you're doing? Or did they actually implore him to say, hey, you know, you need to go take advantage of this situation?
Whose corner?
Hitchens.
Hitchens.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
Well, what Hitchens did say after the fight was, yeah, you know, I had to box smart because this guy can punch. And I don't know, maybe he said to himself, this is my first big step-up fight. I really need to get this win under my belt. And as a result of that, maybe he was overly safety first because of that. He just didn't want to blow this opportunity. He wanted so badly to just get the W under his belt by any means. And that's probably what the mentality he had going into this. That's all I can, take from
Max said his corner was telling him to go for the KO between rounds. Things were getting testy in between rounds.
Yeah, I didn't hear that, but
wow,
maybe I missed it.
Yeah,
because DAZN's horrible with the in between rounds. They usually don't have good mics in there. They don't. A lot of times, it's like the worst.
Why they charge you the most money out of every other platform? They charge you the most money and give you the worst return on your investment of any of them.
They've had an abysmal year, man. I used to be the biggest DAZN fan too. The first few years were awesome, dude. $99. You got the tournament. You got Canelo, Golovkin, Anthony Joshua. It was awesome.
All for that whole, right for that, no pay-per-views, no nothing.
Yeah, it was great. And then it's just trash now.
Is Conor Benn going to be that next guy to carry the torch for Matchroom? I don't know. Is he going to be like Joshua? He can't attain that status Joshua had.
He can't. Joshua is a once a generation guy. It's a combination of things. He's a 6'6" Greek god. He's good on camera and stuff. He's a good looking guy and all that. So yeah, there's no.
Straight out of Central Casting, Anthony Joshua is.
Yes.
Yeah, he really is, man. And he's got like what we were doing this was a couple of years ago when he first was like on the scene and getting bigger and bigger. He had endorsements. He was like soccer guy. Like he was on the top 10 of world endorsements with like
he's the
Ronaldo
most popular athlete in the UK. He was the most, not just like, he's actually one of the most popular entertainers over there. He's widely known. He's like, think of like Tom Brady here, and he's kind of in that realm over there. It's crazy to think about.
And keep in mind, this is a guy that did very little media outside of fights.
Yeah,
and they
really
still
did.
and he was just like
Fury does, baby. Eddie Hearn and Matchroom did a wonderful job. And now that his real personalities come out a little bit, and people see that dissonance between the way he was marketed and who he really is, and they're going, "Whoa, wait a second."
You think people like him more now, Mike, because they find out that he's more flawed than they thought he was?
Some. But the soccer moms and the teeny boppers, they were getting some of them have probably checked out. Yeah.
Philly Drew, thank you so much, my friend. He said the whole Matchroom card sucked, and what else is new? There you go. That's cold-blooded, man. That's cold-blooded. I mean, it's true, but it's
true.
Conor Benn versus Rodolfo Orozco. Beeb, why don't you guys help me out with this? Isn't Conor Benn suspended for drugs? Didn't he just get popped for PEDs? I thought he did. Why is he fighting here? I don't understand. So I could just go out and use drugs and go fight. I don't understand. Why do we have a VADA? Why do we have all these agencies?
Well, he was cleared by the National Anti-Doping Panel, which is a tribunal in the UK. UCAD gave him a provisional suspension, and he filed the appeal with the National Anti-Doping Panel, and he won his case, and UCAD lifted the suspension, and he relinquished his BBBOC license last year, and he never reapplied for it. And in the UK, you don't need a BBBOC license to fight. You as long as you get permission from them to fight either in the country, or if you're not under any suspension, then you're allowed to fight. They claim that they had research done. They had scientists, they had doctors look at his case, and he had like in between 10 and 30 micrograms of the clomiphene in the system, and they determined it was from food. I mean, I will say this. There's a lot of stuff being pumped into the food that we do eat, particularly chickens. They do pump chickens with clomiphene to increase egg production so the farmers can sell more eggs. It's the same thing with clenbuterol. Farmers were injecting the cows with clenbuterol. So when the cows do get bigger, they feed them and try to fatten them up, that the quality of meat is better. So it's not all, who wants a steak that's 80% fat? You know what I'm saying? So I have to be honest, and I'm probably going to be in the minority here. I do believe with the amount that was in his system, it was consistent with food contamination. I believe he did not knowingly take the supplement, or the drug. But I think the big problem here is the way the communication between him and the board, where they never actually had a meeting and discussed it. And I guess they want to present the evidence that they have through the research that he spent money to get done, and the board wants to look at it. He's trying to set up a meeting with the board, but for whatever reason, there just seems to be this disconnect between him and the board. But he has been out of the ring for 18 months, and usually people who do test positive for clomiphene, I went on the USADA website, and there were a couple of them that did test positive for clomiphene, and their suspensions are usually a year. He was out of the ring for a year. So in my opinion, again, you don't have to agree with me. No one has to agree with me, but I stand by it. I don't think he knowingly took it. That's just my opinion. And I also, even if you think he knowingly took it, he was out a year, which has usually been consistent with the amount of time served for testing positive for the substance. But yeah, the ABC and the Florida Commission did reach out to the BBBOC and ask him, is he under any suspension? And they said no. So they made him take some VADA tests. I mean, I haven't seen VADA release the results of his test, so I don't know if he did or he didn't. He's saying he did. I guess the Florida Commission mandated that he did before he fought, and he satisfied their request, and now he was able to fight. So
don't they have limits? Like, all right, so I know, like, when you use testosterone or whatever, there's a limit. Like when you go test, they give you like a little bit of a limit. But if you test and your levels are like 4,000 or 5,000, then
here's how they do. Here's how they do it with the testosterone. It's 3 to 1, and I believe it's 4 to 1. No, I'm sorry, it's 4 to 1, but it's 6 to 1 in Vegas. It's the testosterone.
6 to 1.
Yeah, in Vegas it is. We probably all know why that was. That was done. But
wow.
Don't say that loud. Don't say that loud.
But so the 4 to 1 ratio, but the belief is that doing that ratio test isn't sufficient, and VADA does the CRT test. Now USADA say they do the CIR test, excuse me. So the CIR test will show
carbon isotope.
The carbon isotope test. They'll show regardless of the ratio if there is synthetic testosterone in your system. Now, again, I'm in the belief, and this is another minority opinion, I'm not against someone taking synthetic testosterone if it's prescribed by a doctor and you're still in the ratio. Now, others, have a different stance on that. But I mean, if you do agree to VADA testing and you are under that CIR test, and even if you are in the ratio, but the testosterone is determined it came from it's synthetic, from a synthetic source, exogenous, then you're gonna fail the test. It's gonna come up positive. So yeah, there's different stances on it. I believe, and I'm not 100% certain on this because USADA, they're very vague on this. They say they do CIR, but I think they do CIR after the ratio is out of whack. Then they use the CIR to confirm
if they get a certain result with the urine test. They didn't do it for Floyd when he turned. Well, I'm going to give you to that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I shouldn't have said that out loud.
Yeah. So and that's why they don't do.
Can I ask you about this? Sorry to interrupt, but I just want to ask you about this. the optics of this thing, okay? Because Conor Benn was drilling dudes. He was drilling them. He was flattening guys.
Yeah.
Then he has this layoff. Then he comes back and fights a guy that he's favored heavily to beat, not at all an elite level fighter, and goes the distance with him.
Yeah.
The optics of that, given everything we've heard, what do you make of that? I'm not saying it proves anything, but in the court of public opinion.
That is a layoff, though. And you know yourself how tough it is, especially at a professional level, to knock somebody out, or just at an amateur level to knock somebody out.
Yeah, but he had 10 rounds, 12 rounds?
I'll tell you this, Mike.
Yeah.
And again,
10, I believe it was 10. I believe it was 10.
Okay.
And I'm not trying to sound like an apologist here, but if this was another drug, right? Like, this is not the drug of choice. Like, this is not a cocktail Victor Conti is going to say, hey, we're going to give this to Tim Montgomery. Like, you know, it's not like EPO that was in Dillian White's White's system. That's a red flag to me.
It's something you take if you're doing testosterone therapy.
But here's the problem with that, Mike. First of all, the accusations of microdosing.
I don't believe in that.
If he's doing Vada, I don't believe in that either. There's a couple reasons why I don't believe in that. Number one,
nobody microdoses testosterone. It doesn't make sense.
You know why? You're exactly right. You know, and you know why I'm going to kind of extrapolate your point, because you're trying to microdose testosterone, right? You're playing around with, like, what am I going to take so I know I'm going to, like, it's almost impossible to get that down to a T where you're going to get the proper ratio. Oh, well, I'll only do like 500 cc's or 200 cc's. You don't. Testosterone is so randomized. Whenever you take that test, you don't know. Even if you was thinking you're microdosing, you still run the risk of not meeting that ratio properly. It's very hard to microdose and get that ratio down pat. That's number one. Number two, I mean, if he's doing Vada and they're doing the carbon isotope, then even if he's microdosing and it's exogenous, it's going to come up on the test. So I don't believe that, you know. And then this whole thing about underground labs, there was a guy that
is true.
Well, it is in certain.
I'm not saying in this case necessarily, but it is happening.
It is for certain substances and more prevalently in supplements, because there was a guy, it was a guy who was a soccer player. He tested positive for clomiphene, and he provided the evidence that it came from a pre-workout drink that he was taking because it was from a contaminated supplement. So here's the thing. The only way that an investigation will be done is either that underground lab has to be raided, or someone has to rat out that underground lab. Or in this case with the soccer player, he told the testing organization, this is what I took, this is where I got it. And then the investigation's done. He provided the evidence. And, you know, he was still banned, but he was cut down. His ban was cut in half, basically. So I'm not discounting the underground labs thing. There's a lot of crazy shit that goes on in the underground labs.
I've had dudes tell me straight up. And now through my experience as a fighter, I've learned a lot just about what these guys are doing.
But with testosterone injection, that's a little bit like, if you tell me like pills and you tell me like,
no, these guys do a needle, and there's a guy I've spar, and I'm telling you, you can feel a difference.
No, I'm not discounting that.
He hits hard as fuck.
Yeah, I'm not discounting that. But what I'm saying is, like, having testosterone being contaminated with clomiphene, you know, it's
not. But I know a guy at my gym who does this. He's a former professional hockey player, and I think it was his hip. He hurt his hip and it cut his career short. And when that happened during his recovery, they prescribed him TRT. And so he just continued to do it ever since then. And now he's gone over to boxing. And he's talked to me about how they do this. And there's a couple of drugs he takes with it. I don't remember the other ones, but I know he takes. I remember
clomiphene. You know what? But here's where the clomiphene.
As soon as he gets his injection, he pops a pill to block the estrogen, because when you increase your testosterone, your estrogen increases too.
But what I'm trying to say though is, the clomiphene is taken to normalize hormone levels after a period of testosterone use. So in this case, if that was what Conor Benn was doing, he would have more than likely tested positive for exogenous testosterone before the clomiphene. So because of the minute amount, if you go to the WADA website,
because it wouldn't make sense for him to do a small amount of tea. He probably was doing his level was probably 5,000.
Like, and then you're going to take clomiphene. So like what happens? What you're describing is when you take the TRT and you want to come off for a little while, in order to normalize your levels and stuff, and kind of put a balance in your body, the clomiphene, like you said, will help lower the estrogen levels. Because when you're on the TRT, your estrogen goes up along with the testosterone.
Right.
And normally the clomiphene isn't used unless you're doing high doses of testosterone.
That's what these guys are doing.
And they're not,
at least the guys I've talked to. Dude, if you go to any commercial gym, if you work out at LA Fitness or whatever, there's dudes in there doing tea.
But they're not doing it right, Mike. They're not doing it right. I'll tell you why. Because if you're being prescribed the therapeutic dose, and if like guys
they're just doing, they're buying it from some dude in the locker room or some. If you're at 1,000, if you're in between 800 and 1,000, you're gonna feel really good. These guys want to be at 2,000 because they think they're going to be Superman. And if you're abusing testosterone, then you most certainly are going to need clomiphene so you won't get bitch tits, because your fucking estrogen is going to go through the roof. If you're shooting yourself with 2,000, a lot of these guys are going like 2,000, 2,500. These guys,
you're going to need that clomiphene. At the end of that, you're going to need that clomiphene. But in this case, he got it from testosterone that was contaminated. No, I don't believe that.
It doesn't work that way. I don't believe that either. Look, the bottom line with the Conor Benn thing is, it's like you said, Beeb, he didn't fight for 18 months. For me, again, it's just he needs to start knocking guys out again, or it's going to look weird. It looks weird when you're knocking guys out left and right, and then suddenly you're fighting a guy that is levels below what you were knocking out, and you go the distance with him. Now, he was coming off a layoff. I get all this. But if he doesn't start knocking, if he goes 3-4 straight fights that go the distance, that's going to look weird.
They'll say something. They're already saying something right now. I mean,
of course. Yeah.
In the court of public opinion, about 60 to 70% of the people are going to say he's guilty.
Yeah.
They still say Canelo's guilty.
Yeah.
Of knowingly taking it. And that's another guy I don't believe who knowingly took it.
Yeah.
I just don't.
I do knowingly took it. I think, in this day and age, listen, man, you know what you're doing and what you're not doing. You just do. And all these people saying food and everything like that, you're lying. They're guilty. The test is too good. You're guilty.
I know, but Eric,
it depends on the farm. It depends on
if you're taking the tablet, right? You're gonna have like 30,000 micrograms of it in your system. You can't take the tablet and then take a test.
There should be a limit, like you said. That testosterone.
They changed it for clenbuterol. They allow.
Technically, Canelo right now hit the level he had in the system. Wouldn't he?
He had such a minute amount that if he was to, I've done a lot of research on it, and the science really speaks.
I believe you.
No, the science really speaks to when you have such a minute amount of the metabolite in your system.
That's why water changed the threshold.
Yeah, it always
out of your system. But how do they determine
once they started to get more
like if it's going out of your system though? They have like I said, the low range. But then what if they caught it on the downslope and it's going out of your system?
But it's never going to be. It's never going to be like 10 to 30 micrograms of that. Like if you're taking, think about
when you took it and the half-life of that particular drug.
It stays in your system for 4 months. The clomiphene. When you take the tablet, your levels of that detection of that could be up to 30,000 micrograms. He had in between 10 or 15 micrograms of that. There's no way
picograms.
Yeah, there's no way you're going to take a tablet.
I did a
Yeah,
big story on that. Yeah,
yeah,
I
you're
had
not
to
gonna have
talk to a lot of people at labs and stuff. Here, I'm kind of checked out in the performance enhancing drugs thing, man. I went hardcore on it for about 5 or 6 years. I'm at a point now where I know a lot of these guys really are doing a lot of shit.
No, I agree.
And in countries like Mexico,
Yeah.
you can go to the drugstore and buy shit
Oh yeah.
that half-lifes out of your system in a day or two. They're
Mhm.
all doing it. Every fucking one of them. Trust me.
If you're making a living like that, and that's what you know what I mean, you're going to do it.
It's
like Jean
bucks.
Jean Pascal, Dillian White,
Big Baby Miller.
Jarrell Miller.
Yeah.
Even Alicia. Here's my theory on Alicia Bumgarner. Now that drug, like the primobolan, I do. It's very there's heavy evidence to suggest that she did knowingly take that. That's something that is very it is. That's not in food. That's rarely in supplements. That's kind of like a vanity type drug that bodybuilders take to look lean. Now, this is a ridiculous theory I have. I think she took that because she's starting to do like modeling and she does a lot of like shoots and stuff, and she does look like leaner and stuff. I think she probably took that drug for aesthetic purposes. Regardless of that, I'd still probably believe she knowingly took that. It's hard. And she's not really,
we'll never know with any of these cases. And so how do you consistently handle these? What do you do? You got
to constantly evolve.
They're always a step behind. The drug testing agencies are always behind.
Like ever since Canelo, right? You haven't really heard any positive clenbuterol tests anymore because they have that allowable amount that's consistent with food contamination. Right. I just think the way the food industry has gone, and the amount of shit we pump, the people pump into the drugs that they give the chickens, the drugs they give the beef, just so they can produce more.
Some countries have outlawed that shit though, like in Italy. Italy bans that stuff, and so it probably never happened in America, but until more countries ban that shit,
But in Conor Benn's case and Canelo's case, I do believe they got it from food, and that's just my opinion.
Yeah, they did it. They're guilty. Papa Chubby, thank you so much. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I don't know. We'll never know. That's just how I stand on it, and I kind of just don't give a shit anymore. I
don't really care anymore either. I just hate when people like do these pie in the sky conspiracy theories. He took testosterone and on the moon, and the Martians contaminated it with clomiphene, and that's why.
That's legit. I mean, I can get behind that. I mean, because at least it's an excuse. I can get behind that.
If you can throw Sasquatch in there somehow, the Loch Ness monster.
I just hate the misleading of the information. That's what I get aggravated with.
I hear you, man.
Papa Chubby, thank you so much. He said, "Can we discuss the ladies' fight, please, Eric?"
Mike, was that not the best fight on the card yesterday?
Yes, best fight of the weekend.
Sandy Ryan versus McCaskill.
Best fight of the weekend.
What did you think of that decision?
I can't speak on it. I'm good friends with Jessica and Rick. When me and my wife are in Chicago,
why is everyone saying that? Why is everyone saying that?
When they're down in Atlanta, we hang out. That's our peoples. I'll just, I'm happy for Jessica. She kept her belts. Ryan showed some real craft. Look, most people thought she won. Okay, I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah,
Mike, you've heard the show before, and you hear how Beeb trashes women's boxing.
It's him, right? Yeah, because you're a big authority on women's boxing, right?
You talk about women, I say YES, absolutely. But let me ask you a question. You just said you're friends with McCaskill. So have you talked to her? What are their feelings about going 3-minute rounds versus 2-minute rounds?
Actually, her and Rick Ramos is her trainer and soon-to-be husband. They're not really into it. Rick is willing to expand, but he says if you're going to expand to like 3 minutes and 12 rounds and all that, you got to do it piece by piece. You can't just jump because you'd be going for 20 minutes to 36 minutes. Boom.
Yeah.
So it's like do it in pieces. That's kind of like where they stand on it. But I'll say this, guys, I'm good with the 2-minute rounds for female fights. I'm not one of these guys that thinks, if you make it 36 minutes, you're going to get a lot more knockouts. I don't see that. You're going to get some accumulation stoppages. But But Eric, as you mentioned at the top of the show, it's hard to get a knockout. You got to know what the hell you're doing, and you got to be powerful, right? I got one. I was just sorry. I just had to throw that in there. but it's hard. I never got a knockout in the amateurs. I got knockdowns.
Yeah,
but,
you know what? And Beeb, let me tell you this. And you're a jerk, by the way, Beeb. All right, because the guy that Montero fought was not homeless.
I never said that.
Oh yeah, no,
I'm sure there's someone out there saying that on Twitter or something.
Says it now. He
I'm sure there's someone saying that.
That is defamation. Yeah. That's taken out of context.
Defamation. You're right. It was defamation.
Oh man,
I was the first person to congratulate Mike. He knows that.
Thank you, brother. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone out there. Everyone's been awesome. It's been a fun 2 weeks, man, just talking to everybody about it. But sorry, back to Jessica and women's boxing. I don't think changing to 3-minute rounds is going to make a difference because they just don't have, and I know I'm going to get in trouble for this because I know now men can get pregnant and all this in 2023. Women do not genetically have the upper body strength equivalent to what men have to generate knockouts. Are there exceptions? Of course. But women's lower body strength is actually closer to men's. That's why over in MMA, when legs are a big part of it, they get on the ground, you see more stoppages because there's just more chances to get a stoppage with how they fight. But in boxing, you have to have that explosiveness and power, and women just don't have it. So stick with the 20-minute fights. They fly by. The pace is fun. I enjoy them. I don't see the need to switch to 3 minutes. I truly, truly don't. But in terms of equal pay, the pay comes when you demand the fan, the eyes on you, and you could sell tickets. Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano got paid. They got paid well for that fight because they did a big crowd and a big ratings. So if and when they do a rematch, I don't know if it's going to happen now, but they could demand big money. But until you get that, they're not going to get equal pay. The men's boxers don't get equal pay, right? There are guys who are flyweights who are, bantamweights who are Naoya Inoue. He might be a bad example because he gets paid pretty well. But Chocolatito was a guy that was an amazing fighter. And there were mid-level heavyweights making more than him. It's not fair, but it's how it goes. So anyway, that's how I see it. What's this comment? Beef dissing Montero's opponent. I'm just looking at Omar's comment.
It's there. I mean, we got receipts, son. We know. All right.
Doctored the reports. You doctored the reports.
All right. Mike, we're gonna let you go here in just a second because I know you got to get out of here. But tell us about your fight. I know Beeb doesn't want to hear about it. I want to hear about it, and everybody else wants to hear about it.
Okay. Well, I wanted to do like 3 or 4 of them this summer. I actually got my license back in late April. I did my last amateur fight in February. To be pro, you have to have at least 5 amateur fights and a winning record. I ended up doing 6. And so I did, all the medicals. I had to do extended medicals to get my license because I'm over 40. And the plan was I got back in the gym May 1st, and I had fights lined up in June, 2 in July, and 1 in August. All of them got canceled. So me and my wife, we've had to work this all out because she's pregnant. We have a baby at home, and we agreed that I'd be done by the end of August. Well, all these fights got canceled. This card opened up on September 9th. I said, listen, can you extend your deadline for like 1 more week? And she did. She obliged me. Thank you, baby. Thank you. And so I got this fight. I got thrown on kind of last minute. But these guys were awesome. It was Laced Up Promotions is the promoter. There's a Southeast promoter. And there was just a lot of the guys there are former military, and I'm a former Marine, and I think that was part of it. I got connected through a mutual friend, Chris Glover, over at Pro Box. And these guys were great. So they put me on the card. I was supposed to be the 3rd fight, but I didn't know 2 opponents pulled out. The first 2 fights got canceled the day of the night of the fight. So they bumped me up to the 1st fight. I didn't know. Wow. I'm chilling back in the locker room. I got wrapped up and all that, but I was just chilling back there looking at my phone, looking at videos of my daughter, trying to stay loose. Commission guy comes in and goes, Montero, 3 minutes. I'm like, what? What? I don't even have my gloves on. 3 minutes? What? Yeah. So like, that's just club shows, man. There's just always some kind of drama. So I shit you not, they were literally announcing my name, and I could hear the music playing and them saying my name as I'm backstage walking out. We're getting the gloves taped and signed by the commission as I'm walking to the ring.
Wow.
So when I say I came in with no warm-up, I mean I had no warm-up. But I had such a good camp. I was in such great shape. Best shape of my life, man. I spent the money. I worked with a strength and conditioning coach. I worked with a massage therapist. I got DEXA scans to monitor my weight and my body fat. I was 13% body fat for this fight. I had more muscle. I weighed 219. My amateur fights, I was like 210. I did less road work, more weightlifting, a lot more sparring. That was my cardio. I did a ton of sparring and worked with a lot of new guys. The fight itself, I get in there and my opponent puts his head down and just throws haymakers with both hands. There's no jab, nothing. He threw like 50 punches in the first minute. All I did was cover up. I covered up, held, cover up, held. I did that twice and he was already breathing heavy. I was like, all right, shit, let's go to work. I stuck a couple hard right hands to his stomach because he had a belly. He weighed 250. He was heavier than me, but he was shorter, a lot shorter than me. And so I just used my length and just touched him a few times. I was trying to set up the right hand up top. I threw a couple down to his solar plexus and I landed him. I dropped him twice. And I was like, okay, as soon as he gets up from this second knockdown, I'm going to go over there, dip low, and come with the right hand and knock him out clean. I had it set up. He was starting to dip when I was shooting it, and then the ref stopped it. I was like, shit.
Oh, wow.
I wanted my right hand up top, but he stopped. He was protecting the fighter. I get it. But it was a minute and 45 seconds. They just sent me photos this weekend. So I'll send the promoter sent me photos. So I'll post the photos probably tomorrow on my Twitter and stuff. They're supposed to give me video in the next week or so, but there's not a whole lot. I threw like 5 or 6 punches in the whole fight, but they all landed and I got a knockout. So. Or maybe I missed 1 or 2.
I'm trying to tell you about Mike. You don't want to listen, Eric.
Hey, it says it right here. Beeb is jealous because he's not on BoxRec. We've had a whole bunch of stuff coming through. I mean, listen, they remember Beeb.
Listen, Mike and I are in different eras, man. I got 11 years on it. We're in different eras.
What year were you born? So you're 68?
69, actually.
Oh, I'm 79. Okay, all right. So we're 10 years apart.
10 years apart.
I'm 73,
Different weight classes. Mike's a heavyweight. I'm a cruiserweight. Different promoters. This can never work.
I'm really a cruiserweight. I'm just too lazy to make weight anymore, man.
I can make cruiserweight.
How much did you
no excuses now.
How much did you weigh, Mike, for that? You did look lean in that fight, man.
Here's the thing, dude. I had more weight on me because the amateur fights, I was trying to get down to 200 pounds. I was 219 for this.
Yeah.
Oh,
and what it was is
you look like you were 210.
My coach was like, in the training pics and stuff I saw, you look big.
You look lean. You look very lean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my coach told me, he goes, Mike, you're 44. Stop trying to get down to 200. You're killing yourself. Just embrace being a heavyweight. I know you're not a natural heavyweight, but just embrace it and just be a heavyweight. And so I lifted a lot more weights. I worked with the strength and conditioning guy. And he had me doing compound lifts, explosive movement, a lot of twisting, tons of overhead pressing. That's something I don't normally do in my workout routine. He had me doing over and over and over to the point of failure. So my shoulders and all this just swelled up. And normally when I start doing road work, my muscle melts off because I'm just naturally really, really thin. But I was able to keep it on because instead of doing road work like 4 or 5 times a week, I did it once or twice a week. And I would just run 3 miles. But that's all I do. And that would be like my morning workout. And then I go spar in the evening or whatever. So I did it with a 2-a-day. But I did a lot more weightlifting and a lot less running. And the weight stayed on. And I let myself eat. I kind of did the carnivore diet. Right, dude, I was eating cheeseburgers and shit.
Wow.
A lot of fat. And I cut body fat eating meat because I stopped eating as many carbs. I stopped eating so much pasta and rice and stuff like that. And anytime I did eat that stuff, I would eat protein and fat with it. So the insulin wouldn't spike. I just learned like what works for my body. And in this camp, dude, I felt phenomenal. I was sparring 6 straight rounds. So my coaches told me it's a 4-round fight, do 6 straight rounds. Normally you do a round or 2 and you like take a round off, a round or 2 if you're kind of with a few different guys. what I was doing is I was sparring 3 guys. They'd come in one each round, a new guy, but I'd go 6 straight. So they were fresh, and I was, so like by the 5th and 6th round, I was usually really, really tired. But the last week or 2, I was good all through 6 rounds. I actually sparred 9 rounds my last sparring session. Felt great.
Wow.
Felt great.
Didn't you post a video one time where you were doing like squatting 405 for like reps?
No, probably 315. Probably 315. Yeah. But 405, I could do a couple of them, but but
that's still good. 315. I think you were doing it like 10 times, weren't you?
Yeah. I could. Well, not now. So that's another thing with this camp. I still did a lot of squats, but I would not. I did 315, maybe a set of 2, but I would start at 225 and just work up. And it was more about exploding, dropping down slow, and then boom, exploding up. And I did power cleans and just that kind of stuff, just about being explosive. And it worked, man. I'm telling you, it worked. It's worth it. You got to spend the money. I spent a lot of money on all the strength and conditioning.
You really invested. You weren't fucking around with it. You really invested.
That's the thing. I talked to my wife.
Full credit for that. Full credit.
Yeah, for sure.
That's why I'm so happy, because I did it, and I know I put in the work, and like I only got to fight for 1 minute and 45 seconds. I didn't get to show any of my craft or skills or whatever. Right. But my coach, he told me, Mike, it's the pros and it's your pro debut. You're going to be in there against the novice opponent. It's about being dominant and explosive. Yeah. It's not about showing your boxing. You did that shit in the amateur. Get in there and be explosive. And that's what I did. And it worked out, man. So
what's Tiffany saying now? Like, how many fights are you allowed to have?
Yeah, are you going to go forward with this? Or are you going to have more pros? Or
what's this career trajectory?
I want to, because like I said, I wanted to do like 3 or 4 this summer. And one of them was actually in Detroit at Crunk. They had a fight scheduled July 15th, but it got canceled because they had another show in town. And they're pushing that back to next year. But I was going to fight on that. And that was going to be really special because my family could go.
Yeah. But, so what is your ultimate goal here? I mean,
now, my goal was I wanted to get a few fights in, 3 or 4, so that because now it looks like a one-off. And that's what I was trying to explain to my wife. People are going to think, it's just like, so what? Who cares what they think? The guys at the gym know what you did, and like you were ready to go for multiple fights. But I don't know if I'm going to get to, dude. My wife is having our 2nd kid next month. Yeah. We're going to have 2 babies. One's going to be 12 months. One's going to be a newborn. Yeah. When am I going to be able to train? It was so hard to train this year with a baby, and I have a sick mother right now. It's been really, really difficult. It's been a burden on my family, and I don't know.
Family
I know.
First.
And I'm at a point now where I'm on BoxRec. I did it. And maybe now I just have to let it go. But it's like I'm in such good shape, dude. I could get in there and do it again next week. I really could. Yeah. It's killing me. But these shows got canceled. It was out of my hands. It was just out of my hands.
Well, with 2 little kids, you're going to need to be in good shape, man. I'll tell you what.
Yeah. Dude, wow. Just taking care of a baby keeps you on your feet. You get your steps in just taking care of you have to get 10,000 steps in a day on top of your workouts, right? I get that in just taking care of my daughter. Right. I know, you know how it is. You're a father.
Well, at least you know how it is.
Eric gets 10,000 steps in a year's time, but that's
it rounds up. You know what I mean? My watch rounds up, 10,000 a year. And I tell you what, I heard taking care of 2 kids is hard. I mean, that's what Lisa tells me. So I trust her opinion. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, do you guys have family in town? Like, do you have family around you?
We do. Yeah, we do.
That helps so much. See, man, our family's thousands of miles away. My family's up north. Her family is in California. Yeah. So it's just us. And,
that's difficult.
It's been tough, dude. It's been tough.
I bet, man. Jeez. Well, Mike, we're going to let you go, man. We know you got to go get back to your family and everything like that. So we appreciate you coming on, man. We appreciate it. Real quick, how do you get your channel?
Montero Unboxing. That's it. You guys can find me on all the social. Montero Unboxing. Hit me up. My show, The Neutral Corner, will be on tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern. I'll probably go for like an hour. And that's that. So I'll see you then. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Let's do it again soon.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
All right. Peace.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff.
Well, Tom, you finally gave that guy his credit, man.
I think
Getting tired of you not giving this guy his credit.
you slam him every chance you get, and when he gets on here, you're as sweet as
Different-
pie.
We're in different eras. We're
You're
different
sweet
eras.
as pie
We're in different
to
eras.
him.
We're in different eras.
He was over there almost getting him a cup of coffee on the air, for Christ's sakes.
Well, it's like I carried away.
What's the matter with you? D-Style, thank you so much, my friend. We appreciate it. And Base the Kid, the hardcore casual, says Mike Montero versus Nestor Gibbs. Set it up. My money's on Montero all day right now.
My money's on Montero, too. No disrespect in this, but.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, man. You're talking about a guy, pro fight. It's that's a lot different than, it's a lot different, man. We'll just say that. Real quick, let's go to the phones here. I got Robert here, and then we'll get to the Canelo preview, and then we'll go to the news, and then we'll be out of here. Robert, what's up?
Hello, guys. How are you?
Good, man. Good.
How's it going, Robbie?
Well, and that was a great segment with Mike. He's always entertaining when he comes on, so that was good.
He is.
My one question about Conor Benn, guys. Let's take the out of the ring stuff out of it for a minute. But last night, I understand that guy that he was fighting was like 6'1", so there was an obvious disadvantage there. But do you think he's capable of fighting at 154? Because the size difference last night looked massive. I wonder if 147 is where he should go, where he should stay.
What was that fight? 154 last night?
Yeah, it was on 154, and they're talking about him going to 160 to fight Chris Eubank. I'm going to be honest. He's a small welterweight, bro. He's not big.
He's going to get murked by Eubank.
Yeah.
Eubank's going to kill that dude. I don't even know why they're talking about that fight, but
that's a cash out fight, man. That's a money.
That's exactly what it is.
They're talking about it for money, but look, anybody can do what they want with their boxing career, but if what I saw last night is indicative of what it's going to look like when he fights, 154 or even 160, he's got no shot. They have weight classes for a reason.
What you think about Joe Joyce?
Honestly, I think he should quit. He didn't make any kind of adjustments at all between the first fight and the second fight. And look, I have questions about Zhang, but he destroyed Joe Joyce not once but twice. And let's see what he does going forward. I don't know if he could beat Wilder, Joshua, Fury, Usyk, any of those, but he's earned the opportunity if one of them will give him a fight.
You think Jared Anderson runs through him in less than 6 rounds, right? Me too.
I think Jared Anderson would definitely. Beat Joe Joyce. I don't know if Jared Anderson is ready for Zhang yet.
You don't know if he's ready for Zhang?
I like. No, I don't think he's ready for Zhang yet. But I like what Jared Anderson's doing. Let's see who they match him up with next.
I can match him against. Tell him he's going to fight Godzilla. Doesn't matter. He wins.
Well, remember, Eric, he's only going to fight till he's 27. He's already said that.
It's all good. It's all he needs.
But Eric brings up a good point about Zhang's stamina. Like, this was a 6-round fight and a 3-round fight. And we have seen when he has been taken into deep waters and he did get tired. So I'm not saying he can't. Yeah, I'm not saying he can't improve upon that stamina issue, but I want to see it against a guy that has a top level guy that's going to force him to go a hard 12. Because we saw what happened in the Hrgović fight. He got off to a quick start in the Hrgović fight, and Hrgović climbed back into it, and that's why he won. I still think Zhang eked it out, but it was a different fight. It was a tale of two fights. Definitely, clearly a tale of two fights.
And I'm definitely not impressed with Hrgović at all. If he gets a title shot with Usyk's going to have so much fun with him. It's not even going to be funny.
What do you mean he's going to have fun with him? This is a family show. Like, what do you mean he's going to have fun with him?
What's the matter
What
with
kind of
Well,
state?
in other
Oh,
words,
he's gonna have fun with him.
yeah,
What do you think this is? X-rated? This is a family show. Oh, he's gonna have
you?
fun with
South
him.
so
What's he
fast.
gonna do? Take him in the back and have fun with him?
Hey, quit
My
having a dirty
goodness.
mind, for God's sake.
What a way
What
you
I
put
meant
things,
was that
Robbie.
he's going to have fun with him in the boxing sense. He's going to embarrass him.
Oh, he's gonna have fun with him. What does that mean? Character assassinate Usyk like that.
Character
Jesus
assassinating Usyk.
And as far as Canelo, guys, I think this is a walk in the park for Canelo. I think he wins this, and I would expect a knockout between 6 and 8 rounds. I think Canelo puts away Charlo.
Wow. Okay. All right. Did you watch the DAZN fights yesterday, Robert?
Yeah. Yes, I did.
Let me ask you a question. Did you think it was worth the $25 you paid for it?
Hey, I don't like guys that fight like Hitchens and stuff. And I was very disappointed with Depater's performance. It looked like he was just there to collect a paycheck. No, it was not worth the $25 a month. And when my year is up, I am going to go month to month. I've already made that decision. Because this year has been not so good for the people at Matchroom and DAZN. And I don't know whose fault that is. I don't know if it's their fault. I don't know if it's what's going on over there, but they've had a bad year boxing-wise as far as putting fights together.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
ESPN and Showtime have done much better jobs at putting cards and fights together. I don't know what's going on at Matchroom or at DAZN or what the issue is, but they do have to look at what they're doing over there. I do have to say that.
There you go. All right, Robert, we're going to put you on hold, and let's talk about the fight this next week. Let's see here. September 30th, and there are 3 fights on September 30th. One is on DAZN, and let's get to that first. This is the September 30th on DAZN from London, DAZN, which you're paying for. Jai Opetaia versus Jordan Thompson for Opetaia's IBF Cruiserweight title. The co-main there is Ellie Scottney versus Laura Soledad Griffa. 10 rounds for Scottney's IBF Women's Junior Featherweight title. That is what you are paying $25 a month for. There you go.
Didn't you cancel?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You're not paying anymore.
I'm not paying it. Nope.
Suckers like me still are.
Yes.
I pulled, what did I pay? What is it? The $225? I paid the full year, $225.
I wouldn't even pay that. No way, man. No way. September 30th, Las Vegas, Showtime pay-per-view, Canelo Alvarez versus Jermell Charlo, 12 rounds for Alvarez super middleweight undisputed championship. Jesus Ramos Jr. versus Erickson Lubin, junior middleweights, 12 rounds. Yordenis Ugas versus Mario Barrios. That's not a bad fight either. 12 rounds for the vacant WBC interim welterweight title. And Elijah Garcia versus Armando Resendez, 10 rounds. Middleweights, Frank Sanchez on the undercard versus Scott Alexander, 10 rounds heavyweights. We were just talking about Frank Sanchez. Alexander Vosdik versus Isaac Rodriguez. Terrell Gachet on the undercard. Let's see. It's not a bad card. It's not a bad undercard. And for a pay-per-view, I'll take it. It's not bad. Not bad. So let's get it chopping here. Canelo Alvarez, Jermell Charlo. Let me tell you, here's what I don't like. I don't like that this isn't the 160-pound Jermell, because I think that would have been a better fight. But again, he's been off for a year. He's been off for how long now? It's been over a year, hasn't it?
2 years.
2 years. How is he still the champion? Why don't somebody answer me that? Riddle me that. How is he still the champion?
The WBC
But he's
is
coming up. Listen, you're coming up 2 weight classes. 2 weight classes to fight arguably the best fighter on the planet right now. He's arguably the best fighter on the planet. I know a lot of guys that say Terrence Crawford. Yeah, I agree. But he's arguably one of the best fighters on the planet. Canelo Alvarez.
The top
and you're
5.
jumping up. Top 5. Can't even argue that. Top 5, definitely. And he's stepping up 2 weight classes to do this. That's a big deal, Beeb. I mean, stepping up 2 weight classes to get this done, that's a real big deal. And that's a big step. Charlo is a good fighter. And I just think this might be a little bit, I think the strength is what's gonna happen. I think he's gonna taste this, he's gonna taste that power early, he's gonna taste that pressure early. Does he have anything to keep Canelo off him? He absolutely does. He's got power too. Does he have 168-pound power? I don't know. Canelo, I'm sure Canelo spars with heavyweights. I'm sure Charlo does too. But I tell you, man, this is a big deal. This is the weight classes is what bothers me. If he took his time with this and stepped up, but I understand opportunity, I get it. I would have liked to seen him have a few fights at 160 before he stepped up. But going from 154, and I get the marketing, they're both undisputed, I get it, but man, that's going to be a tough hill for Charlo to climb. I think he's a better boxer. I think I don't know. I wouldn't say he's a better boxer than Canelo. I think he's fast. He's going to be faster and he moves better than Canelo. Whether he's going to be able to put that in place, man, that remains to be seen. That's a tough one. He is a live dog, though. In my opinion, he's a live dog. He does have a shot to win. I just don't think he's going to win. I'd like to see him. I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind seeing him win. I really wouldn't. I don't know that that's going to happen, though. Beeb, what are your thoughts on this?
Big problem with Jermell is he doesn't fight with a high output. He's not a high output guy. He's not a volume puncher. He's got decent power, but as you said, will that translate up to 168? Doesn't move a lot in the ring, right? He'll stay there and try to get into exchanges with his opponent. And as of late, he's kind of been loading up with one shot, right? Trying to land the home run, really focusing on the power a little bit too much, it seems, in recent fights. And he needed 2 fights to beat Castaño. He needed 2 fights to beat Harrison. He's probably not going to get a second chance with Canelo, so it's got to be one and done.
I thought he won the fight against Harrison. I thought he won. Obviously, he won both fights, but I thought he won that first fight.
Yeah, I thought Harrison edged it. I thought Harrison edged it, but a lot of people do think Charlo did win the fight. So there's an argument for that. Either way, I don't think he looked great in that fight, but I do think Harrison edged him 115 and 113. But most people agree with you.
It's close.
It was close. So I think the big problem here is the inside game of Canelo. Both Charlos, I don't think, are great inside fighters. They like to use distance. They're kind of outside to mid-range type fighters. Then they don't really like it inside. And we saw even with Jermell against Derevyanchenko how that was a kind of a tough fight for him. And it's the same thing with Jermell with Castaño. When Castaño was going in and out in the first fight, and he was collapsing the pocket on him, Charlo had a hard time getting his shots off. His shots were being smothered because Castaño was like going all the way in on him deep, and he had a hard time. So both these Charlo brothers, they need space to get those shots off and catch you at the end of their shots. Canelo, I think, has got a really good feint game. He knows how to open you up with those like throwaway jabs that he throws. Changes levels when he throws that throwaway jab, tries to get you to react to them and create openings for himself. And then he kind of feints behind the jab, slides in. He's just really good at getting up close and closing the distance, even though he's not the quickest on his feet. But once again, he's not going to be in there with a guy who moves a lot. He's not going to be in there with a guy who throws a lot of punches. So this style fits right into Canelo. I could see Canelo getting inside, grinding Charlo out in the body. And I could see him getting a 9th round to 10th round stoppage. I'm going to go with Canelo by 9th round stoppage. I think he's going to grind him out on the inside. I think he's going to land the more telling blows. He's going to land the better quality shots, the harder shots, and I think his shots are going to have more effect on Charlo. And I think this is going to be a case of Charlo can run, but he can't hide in this fight. I mean, there's going to be nowhere he goes where Canelo ain't going to be able to get to him. I just think that I think he's going to feint him out of his socks. I think this is high level chess here. No disrespect to Charlie, he's been in there with the good guys, but nowhere near the level of Canelo. This is high level chess.
Do you think that, I guess, you talk about do you think there's been slippage in Canelo? Because I personally, I think there's been slippage there.
You could argue that.
For a bit.
You could argue that.
For a bit.
I know there was injuries with the wrist, injuries with the knee. He's saying that the wrist is 100% now. Saying that there's no issues with the knee. This fight will reveal a lot for us, because we heard in the last 2 fights he wasn't 100%. He says he's 100% this time. He looks good, but looks can be deceiving. But we all know he turned pro at 15. We all know he's been we know he's been a pro for how many years now? Like 18 years or so?
Something
right?
Ridiculous, yeah.
He's been a pro for about 18 years now, right? He's got a lot of miles on the tank. He's got about 47 fights right now. And there was at one point he fought 4 times in a 12-month period, top level guys in succession. So this, he's had a rough ride up until this point. And it's fair to question that. Like, how much does he have left? It's a slippage. Has the body broken down? Is the body at 100%? Will it ever be at 100%? Is it even at 90%, 85%? Like, where is he at right now physically? Where is he at mentally? He's made a boatload of money. What's the motivation now? He's already become undisputed,
right?
Already been a champion in 4 weight classes, walks into the Hall of Fame tomorrow if he retires. Where's the motivation? So all these are question marks going in. But Canelo is a special guy. I would like to think that he's still hungry, but what do I know? I'm just a guy with a local 22 jacket trying to make a living. So I don't know. 64 fights. 64 fights. Thank you, Batman.
64 fights. Yeah.
My fault.
I don't know, man. I keep picturing him going up 2 weight classes to fight this guy. And, he's had some slippage, but he's still, like you said, arguably top 5, to me, he's arguably one of the best out there now. So it's just, to me, it's a tough road for Jermell to do this. Do you buy into the logic that he will try to box like Bivol? Because that's what I've been hearing from a couple different places, that he's going to try to box Canelo. He's going to move, because we know Canelo's not the greatest with footwork anymore, or really through his career, he's not been great with footwork. He's always been criticized for that. But you look at a guy like Charlo, who can move, who can box, who's got the tools. He's got the tools. You think he's able to put together a game plan?
I'm sure he'll put together a game plan, but let me ask you this. Sure. Would it be safe to say that both Canelo and Bivol are counter punchers somewhat, for the most part?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, a big part of Bivol's game is being a counter puncher, right? Jermell's not really a counter puncher. Would you classify him as that?
No.
He's more of an aggressive guy.
He's more of an aggressive guy. He likes to come forward.
Yeah, so it's hard for me to think that he could fight like Bivol. He could try, but the likelihood of him being successful at it, trying to change his style and mirror Bivol's style overnight. I'm sure he may have seen things in that Bivol fight that he's saying
he incorporates with him. Yeah.
Yeah, I could do that. I could do that. I could do that. So in that respect, maybe, who knows? I mean, he's a talented fighter. I don't want to take anything away from him.
Yeah.
I mean, for the sake of the entertainment value, I hope that the fight is a very entertaining fight, is a very competitive fight.
Yeah.
No one likes the upsets more than me.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. If Canelo does lose, and a lot of people will be disappointed, because then that Benavidez fight goes out the window. But if Charlo does win, guess what you have? You have a Charlo Crawford fight.
Yeah.
That's a great fight. That's a great fight too. That's a great fight too. So
that he's not fighting Benavidez. I think that Benavidez fight is out the window. I don't think he fights Benavidez.
Really?
No, I don't.
Really? Because Mauricio Suleiman's saying that he's gonna order the mandatory next year.
Yeah, Mauricio Suleiman says a lot of things. He says a lot of things. And when you got the cash cow, saying, hey, I'd rather fight this guy instead, you're not doing that. He's not going to mandatory anything. Not going to do it. And even if he does mandatory it, who cares? Canelo doesn't need any belts. He doesn't. People are going to tune in regardless.
Let me ask you this. Are you a big undisputed guy, or do you say to yourself, I just want to see the best fights. I don't care I don't give a fuck about belts anymore. And before you answer, I'll give you a quick synopsis of my opinion on it. I'm so sick of these sanctioning bodies, and they've lost so much credibility in my view over the years. I don't even give a fuck about these belts anymore. And the fact that you have to win 4 belts now, what's next? 5? Like just the sheer fact of being undisputed, just winning 4 belts and saying you're the best. I don't give a fuck if Fury and Usyk fight and there's no belts on the line. I just want to see that fight. How important to you as a fan is undisputed?
You know, not very. Because, you know, unless you're the main guy in the division and you're fighting the best guys.
Yeah, that takes precedent. That takes precedent over everything. Would that be safe to say?
Absolutely. Because I'd rather see, I don't want to see him defend all the titles against some schlep. You know what I mean? Or fight, you know, just a fight that doesn't really mean nothing for the belt. What is that for? You know?
Yeah. So I just think this whole, I want to see undisputed. Like, I just want to see good fights, bro. I want to see like top level guys fighting top level guys, competitive matchups. I don't give a fuck about the belts. I gave up on the sanctioning bodies, and I gave up on the belts. I think fans just put too much stock into the belts.
Yeah, it would be beautiful. Like I said, I mean, we may get that Charlo fight next anyway, the Charlo Crawford fight next anyway. But it would be something, wouldn't it? I mean, it really would be something to watch him win that fight, man.
I know Crawford said he wants to fight Canelo if Canelo wins, but I don't know if Canelo said to him, is he saying, like, what do I get out of that?
Canelo has no interest in fighting Crawford. No.
Yeah, he may. I'm not so sure he has any interest at all. You could be right. I tend to agree with you on that one.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting now, but will it be interesting after this fight on Saturday?
Here's the thing.
That's what you got to ask yourself.
I'll tell you. I'll go over a scenario where that Crawford Canelo fight becomes intriguing. If Charlo fights Canelo very competitively, and if Canelo were to win maybe a 7-5 decision in a very tough competitive fight, not look great, but just do enough to win, then that Crawford fight becomes intriguing, in my opinion. But if Canelo goes in there and just dominates Charlo and knocks him out in like 9 or 10 rounds, sort of like what Spence did to, Crawford did to Spence, something similar to that, which probably won't be as that dominating. But if it's similar to that in any way, then that Crawford fight becomes less intriguing, because then you're like, Canelo's still that guy.
Still that guy.
He's still that killer.
Yeah.
The only way it does become intriguing is if Canelo shows more slippage. Then the size advantage kind of gets offset, because then you can say, well, the skill gap isn't as wide as we thought anymore. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's just my opinion.
I completely agree. Let's go to the news and rumors here. Keith Thurman, your favorite, Beeb, trash talking Claressa Shields. They're actually considering this. He's actually considering doing an exhibition where he fights Claressa Shields, because he was bragging about his footwork and everything. He's like, she's never seen footwork like this. They're actually considering this.
Yeah, this is madness.
Am I crazy here? Come on.
I think Thurman's a little crazy here for doing this, or for wanting to do this.
I do too. But he's got what else has he got lined up? You know? I mean, what else is he going to do? What other fights does he get? Has he got a fight lined up? Who's he fighting? He ain't fighting nobody. He hasn't fought in years. When's the last time Keith Thurman fought?
He's got nothing lined up. Well, then now they're talking about, I told you about this rumor offline. They're talking about him versus Tank at 145.
Yeah, Tank ices that guy.
I think at this point, Tank knocks him out, no?
Yeah, last time he fought, February of 2022. February. Is it who's talking about that? You know what I mean? Like, really? Like, what do you know? Nobody wants that. He's done. You can't fight just once every couple of years. You're not even that popular here, man.
No, I'm not a big fan of that whole.
No, I'm not either.
That's crazy.
Like, what are you doing? I thought this was really interesting. This next one. Dana White says from here on out, he will be putting fights on Mexican Independence Day weekend. This is typically a weekend known for boxing. However, this year wasn't on Mexican Independence Day, and they put a UFC fight right there. Apparently, the card did great. The gate, the card, everything did great. So now he's going to counter program. He's taking over Mexican Independence Day weekend. So they're going to put UFC fights on that day. And if they put like pay-per-view level cards on there, that's a wash. Nobody's going against that guy. Their pay-per-views already are beating boxing. They are, most of them are beating any. If you take a majority of their pay-per-views and a majority of our pay-per-views, they're wiping us. We have some, you have some that
you're saying like collectively they do better overall pay-per-view wise than we do.
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. I mean, you'll have some, you'll have some like the Crawford Spence. You'll have some like there's always, outliers.
Oh yeah, because then I see where you're going with this. So if you like fights like Benavidez versus Plant that did like 100,000,
right, they're not getting that money. You know what I mean?
They're more consistent. I see where you're going. Yeah, that's
Jones. John Jones is fighting in December. He's fighting Stipe Miocic in December at Madison Square Garden. Or I think it was November. Maybe it's November, and then December. They got the pay-per-view with Colby Covington and Leon Edwards. I mean, they're smashing it.
I'm a huge John Jones fan.
I love both of those fights. I'm buying both.
I love that Stipe fight. What's the other one? Colby versus who, Eric? I'm sorry.
Leon Edwards, who was the current.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's a great one. Right?
Is he the welterweight champion, Leon Edwards, or is he?
Maybe he is the welterweight champion. I think maybe Adesanya's the middleweight. Yeah, or not Adesanya, but Strickland now is the middleweight. I think
Strickland's middle. Yeah. So he's 170. What's his name there? The guy that Colby's going to be fighting.
Colby is Leon Edwards. He's the one that beat Kamaru Usman. Yeah, so it is the welterweight. Yeah, and man, and it's going to be in London, so it's going to be that's a crazy fight too, man.
I'm definitely going to buy the John Jones one.
Yeah, John Jones. That's going to be a good fight, man. He's got to catch. If Stipe can go distance with him, Stipe's got a real chance there.
I think next time they're in Boston, and I'm pretty sure they'll come back because they had.
They're there all the time. Yeah, they love Boston.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to it next time.
If you haven't been to a UFC event, and if it comes to your town, go to the weigh-ins and everything, because the weigh-ins are another. It's great there too. I mean, it's a crazy atmosphere there too.
When you took that picture with Dana, was that at one of the events?
Yeah, that was at a Cincinnati event actually.
And you just saw him and you asked if you could take a picture with him. And he said he's like,
he's great. Problem. Yeah, he's great. Yeah, absolutely. Anybody who wants their picture taken over there, all the guys, all the fighters and stuff like that, typically are usually pretty good.
Is he a nice guy?
Yeah, he's real nice, real accommodating, just super nice. He waited because they were calling him or whatever, and he waited till everybody got their picture. Everybody that wanted a picture with him got one. So yeah, he's real fan friendly. He's real fan friendly. And he loves Boston too. That's where he's from. So
he's from one of the best cities in the world.
Well, next to Cincinnati, yeah, absolutely. Everybody's second tier then.
It goes Boston, then it goes Miami, then it goes New York. Then it goes, I think Ohio's like maybe 20th on the list.
20th on the list. That's right. And De La Hoya, Oscar De La Hoya says he wants Benavidez, Eubank, or Ryder as Munguia's next opponent.
Yeah, okay.
Let me tell you who his next one's going to be. It's going to be John Ryder, because he says he wants him to do what Canelo couldn't do, is knock him out. I don't like Munguia's chances. I think those are all. I don't like Munguia's chances even against John Ryder.
John Ryder could beat him.
He could.
He went life and death. He went life and death with Dervin. He beat Dervinchenko by the skin of a rat's ass.
Oh yeah.
I had him winning that fight like 114 or 113, man. Like he won that fight so freaking close, bro.
It's crazy.
Oh, it's bananas.
It's nuts, man. John Ryder could beat that guy, man.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely beat him. And then there's talk about who was it? Ryan Garcia fighting soon, but they're still trying to find an opponent and everything like that and all that other good stuff. But I think that once his contract, I don't know how many fights he's got on his contract, but once that goes, he's done with Golden Boy. I can almost tell you that's going to be.
Yeah, he's going to be out.
You can't. If you're Golden Boy, you're not coming back from that last one, What
do you think of Haney versus Pro Grace at 140?
I love it.
What do you like in that one?
I like Haney. I think very few people are going to give Haney any problems. Lomachenko, who I was shocked, I thought beat him. And you know how high I am on Haney, is Lomachenko and Shakur. Nobody's beating Shakur. And if they market him the right way, he's the next Floyd.
Do you think Tank beats Haney right now?
No.
Okay.
No, man. No.
Okay.
He's just too slick. He's too slick. Tank is not beating Haney or Shakur at this. It's no way.
Interesting.
No way.
Okay.
But I would love to see Tank in that Thurman fight. I think that's a fight. I think that's a good fight. I think Tank washes Thurman. That's a good fight. I mean, that's one that'll bring people out. Tank's got to look for those type of fights now. The beatable guys, but they have a name because he is the money guy. I mean, he's really is starting to become the money guy in boxing. You talk about Canelo. Canelo's the guy, but shortly after that, Tank's got a following. He's got a following, man.
What do you think about Fury's place in the sport of boxing right now?
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, you think about look at this thing with Ngannou. You can't just put together one of those bouts unless you have something behind you, unless you have some kind of popularity. Francis Ngannou is not the most popular fighter out there. He's popular because of the UFC, but Tyson Fury, I mean, he's to the point where he's transcending things. He's becoming a household name. He is a household name in a lot of ways.
I'm hearing a lot of news that he's going to be fighting Usyk next in Saudi. Turkey Al Sheikh, the guy who's promoting this fight with Ngannou, took a picture with Usyk back in September 15th, and he said, "Yeah, big things are coming." Yeah. So I'm thinking, and Bob's saying they're already talking about it, and it could happen as early as this. I don't think it's gonna. They're saying it could happen as early as December.
It's gonna happen early next year, March. I would say March.
Right. Because Riyadh ends in March, so they opened up Riyadh with this fight, and they could probably close it with that fight.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I mean, look, man. I mean, that guy. The Saudis are gonna throw a ton of money at this fight. That fight's gonna get made, and
I think it's gonna get done.
I think Tyson Fury is going to beat Usyk easily. I think Tyson Fury retires after that fight early next year, and he retires as the best heavyweight ever. That's it.
He's the greatest of all times.
Yeah. Who are you going to say? I mean, who can you possibly put up against him? First ballot Hall of Famer. Who could you?
It's a shame you and Robbie didn't have him winning that tournament when we did that tournament back then.
Absolutely not.
Would he win it now, though? Would he win it now?
Listen, I've always said this. And like when we do those tournaments, it's always, it's always a lot of tongue in cheek, a lot of fun and everything like that. But I've always said this in any sport, the guys now are the best athletes on the field. They don't make them
size.
Yeah, they're always bigger, stronger, and faster. They know more. They have better nutrition. Everything is in their corner right now. The Ferraris and everything, they don't get faster with time. Everything gets slower with time. The athletes that you got out now, I love the 85 Bears, that defense with the 85 Bears. Or you think about what the 92 Ravens or whatever it was, or 2003 Ravens, I don't know. The Ravens that won that Super Bowl, their defense, they would get washed. They would get washed against any NFL team right now. If you put that same team on the field, they get washed by anybody because the guys are all bigger, they're stronger, and they're faster. Just is. That's life, man. That's just life.
Seeing Mike Tyson stand next to Tyson Fury and look how small he is, it's crazy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. Even Tyson, you think of a guy against a guy like Klitschko. I mean, Klitschko had he's got the absolute, blueprint to beat him. the jab and clinch and everything like that. I mean, again, man, Tyson was my, one of my favorites of all time. But, Julio Cesar Chavez, one of my favorites of all time. But he's not beating Floyd. He's just not. He's just not, man. He's just not. So,
It's not beating him. It's not beating him.
So there you go, man. There you go. And in my first, I'm telling you, Zab Judah beat Sugar Ray Robinson. Hands down.
That was hilarious when you guys picked him. I think you were the only one that
I was the only one. I was the only one who picked Zab Judah to beat
That
Sugar
was
Ray.
crazy. Oh my
you
God.
can say what you want. He beats him. Period. Point blank. Bigger, stronger, faster. The end, baby. That's it. All right, guys. That'll do it for this edition of Ringside Reporter. As always, you can catch Joe Habib on Twitter at JHabib1 and find our YouTube channel at ringsidereporterlive.com. You guys can find me on Twitter or X at Ringside73, and we will see you guys next week.